and entered midwifery school. And coming out of midwifery school, I was working as a midwife, a baby midwife on the south side of Chicago, the same hospital that I was a nurse at. In a community that I kind of grew up in, you know? So it was very warm and fuzzy and fulfilling for me.
So the fact that you were already in the medical field, you were a nurse, and still this idea of being a midwife was not something common. So when you know, us as women learn about, you know, having a midwife versus going the traditional route, it's not necessarily something that's talked about often. It's not the most popular thing. And I can see why now, because you were in the medical field and it still wasn't just like another option for you.
Correct. So I think that the powers that be they succeeded in eradicating the idea of midwifery and the midwives of the South and the granny midwives, and they eradicated that. You know, because now we think traditional care is the physician's office, where it's really the other way around, where traditional care is really midwifery care. I feel like it's a shame that it's not at the forefront like it used to be.
It's like the alternative now.
It's really an alternative, absolutely.
The most common.
Most common, most, you know, safest routes to have your baby and be cared for by women. And so it's a disservice to women, because as we know, we have a lot of issues going on with maternal health care, especially for Black women.
So can you talk a little bit about like the difference, because you worked in a traditional hospital doing labor and delivery versus your experience now doing in-home births?
So the care is very different. The system that we work in, that the physicians, nurses, you know, the medical system that's in place now, is not designed for to offer compassionate, individualized, warm and fuzzy care to women, you know. And you think that it should be, right? This is the most intimate time for a woman and her family. Having a baby is one of the most vulnerable situations, events in your life. Why is our system not geared towards that? You know,
they treat it like you coming in for a procedure,
and
not
absolutely.
an experience.
You're definitely a part of a system and a part of something much bigger that has little to do with how you feel.
And like I said, your experience. It's almost like it's not a medical procedure, but it's very much so. Okay, at this time we're going to do this. Now it's time to do that. Versus, what do you need? What are you going through at this particular time? It's very much, you know, by the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that midwifery care does offer that one-on-one conversations. Even, you know, how much conversation did you have at the doctor's office, right? Versus when you came to my office, we actually sat down on the couch, took your shoes off, and we really dug into, you know, what we needed to during your care. So midwifery care is definitely something much more different, but very much needed, so that families can feel, you know, cared for as a whole.
And feel like you're a part of the
your
process
care.
Versus, so my personal experience, and y'all probably ain't gonna tell all my business. That's gonna be a whole nother...
That's all right.
That's going to be a whole nother episode. But I had the unique experience of having dual care. So my husband works for Kaiser. I have Kaiser insurance, thankfully. So I was able to go through Kaiser, went to all my appointments at Kaiser, but then I came and saw you as well. And Kaiser isn't like the worst thing ever in the world. It's not necessarily what I had imagined it to be. In my, you know, if you watch The Business of Giving Birth, it's like, scary. So it wasn't that. But it was definitely very different from what I experienced with you, because the 10 minutes that I had, you know, with the doctor, and it was almost like a dictating conversation versus a partnership conversation where, you know, I was able to express what I wanted versus somebody telling me what I needed. And that was a very different conversation.
Definitely.
Why do you think Black women specifically are dealing with so many of the challenges that we are when it comes to the entire birthing process?
So when we talk about that, I like to just jog people's memory and take us way back to when our bodies were stolen from Africa, right? Our bodies, the Black woman's body, has never been upheld as anything of value, okay? Our bodies have been mutilated and abused and used as experimentation for different procedures that are happening today in modern medicine, right? So the fact that, we're still dealing with challenges, we know the Black woman is still not regarded, in high regard, her care, her health care, her whole well-being, right? It's not that shocking to me, right? What needs to change is how we approach our own care, because we need to become the defenders, the first line of defense for our own bodies. I don't care who you're going to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just challenging. There's so many, that's a multifaceted, topic, because there's so many things that are held, that we're up against.
What would you say are some of the most common things? Because I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm seeing a lot of, I was obviously a first-time mom, and I was seeking out, alternative options. But I think that you get a lot of people who are not first-time moms, who have, experienced their first birth in a traditional hospital, and then they like, no, sis, the second time around, I'm at least going to explore different options. So what are some of those challenges or struggles that you're seeing most common with the women that you're serving?
When it comes to moms who've had babies already, so they have a point of reference. And they know that whatever they experienced during their first experience, they don't want to experience that again. They know that there's something different, and they seek that intentionally, it's just once you go through something, as a first-time mom, you have no point of reference.
Right.
So you are doing your best to do the research you need to do to navigate. But it's really hard because you don't know, there's so many different things that can happen in pregnancy, and you don't really know the outcome of your birth, what things are going to do or be for you. But that second, third, fourth time around, it's like, okay.
I know what I want now.
I know what I want now. What do they say? 20/20 vision is
hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, hindsight is 20/20. I know what I don't want. I know what I do want. And then that fear in them breaks down.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more confidence too.
So one thing that we have talked about a couple times on the show is, we talk a lot about the struggles of getting pregnant. One thing I realized when I was pregnant was like, getting pregnant is one thing. Staying pregnant is another thing that you just don't really know about or hear about or talk about until you're going through the thing. Yeah. What are some of the, things that women who are watching this that are maybe planning for pregnancy, what are some of the things that they could be thinking about or doing now to prepare for the best, most healthy pregnancy?
I love that question, because I think we should have more conversations around planning for your birth, planning your pregnancy so that you can be more prepared as you can be. But it all comes back to like living a healthy lifestyle, and, lowering your stress levels, really addressing your stress levels and getting a manage on that, because stress, we have different stressors. As Black women, our stressors look different from another woman, and so, really trying to get our affairs in order, and seeking your provider as well, right? Seeking who you're going to go see once you do become pregnant. What does your diet look like? Because, we're predisposed. You tired of that conversation, aren't you?
We were just talking, that's one thing we don't want to hear. You could tell me to do anything else, but if you tell me to stop eating my favorite food, I'm going to fight you on it.
Exactly. And that's the struggle, so start that struggle before pregnancy so that, once you are pregnant, you will have some sort of different habits to have carry a healthy pregnancy to term, and then your options aren't going to be too limited later.
So are you supposed to eat for two?
Are you supposed to eat for two? So you're supposed to eat, a few more calories than you would if you weren't pregnant. However, eating in abundance is not the same as eating nutritionally, to get good nutrition in your body. So yeah, that's a myth.
Stop playing, yeah. That was a little jokey joke.
Right.
So you talk about stressors, and one of the things from the outside looking in, I feel like the work that you do, like Christine, the fact that you are sitting in this chair right now, I told my producer, like, she's on call, her life is on call. I don't know how you do, and your husband, I don't know how do you do that? How do you live? Because I got to give you your flowers because it's like you've literally dedicated your life to doing this work. I mean, you have children of your own who I'm sure deal with the challenges of having a mom whose life is always on call.
Sure.
So how do you navigate that?
It is a struggle. And me and my other midwife girlfriends, we always are trying to find the balance with each other in our lives. Right. You know, is that possible in anything, right? You know, juggling everything.